Hello everyone, Mark Carlisle of the Christ Church of Jackson video team with another video for you. This video is a combination of several things that I have experienced in the last few weeks. I don't believe it's my thoughts, but I believe it is the inspired words that God has shared with me to share with you. Its title is Tapestry, and the scripture associated with it comes from Colossians chapter 2, Verse 2, quote, I want you woven into a tapestry of love, in touch with everything there is to know of God. Then you will have minds confident and at rest, focused on Christ, God's great mystery. All the richest treasures of wisdom and knowledge are embedded in that mystery and nowhere else, end quote. A powerful scripture, you must agree. Well, while contemplating what I could write for this week, I left my office and walked to the post office for my usual mail run for work. And I began to meditate and think about the topic of tapestry and how I could use it for this video. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to the traffic, but thought I saw a familiar car pass by out of the corner of my eye. I didn't think any more about it until I was leaving the post office, and I heard someone call out behind me, Mark, do you need a ride? It was the car that I had caught a glimpse of, but not recognized the driver. It was Phil Carl. He had gone around the corner, down through the alley, and parked and waited for me to come out of the post office to offer me a ride. It brought a smile to my face. And I think that's the first thing that God wanted me to stop, hear, and reflect on. When I returned to my office, I found a piece of paper on my desk, and as I read it, I knew that it was God speaking to me a second time. It is the story of a preacher and writer, Andrew Murray, who was used by God in South Africa in the 1800s. He had suffered from back pain as a result of an injury he had incurred years before, and was writing on a piece of paper regarding his life. He received word that a woman downstairs was in much trouble and wanted to know if he had any advice for her. Immediately, he sent his assistant with the piece of paper that he had written on, reflecting on his own life, and told him to give it to her. This is what it said. First, he brought me here. It is by his will that I am in this strait place. In that I will rest. Secondly, well, before that, amazingly, those are the words to the scripture we are memorizing this month at the church, which is Exodus 14:14. Quote, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. End quote. Wow. That's the third thing God was telling me. So, secondly, he had written on that piece of paper, he keeps me here in his love and gives me grace in this trial to behave as his child. Not my human child, but as his child. Then the third thing he wrote was, he will make the trial a blessing, teaching me the lessons he intends me to learn, and working in me the grace he means to bestow. And last, in his good time, he can bring me out again. How and when, he knows. Well, such a perspective does not alleviate our circumstances, but enables us to keep an even keel and not lose heart. Now remember, the topic of this video was tapestry. And I would like to share a piece of work that my wife's mother created as a tablecloth. Now this is only a section of it because the tablecloth's rather large, but I want you to see the detail. I want you to see how crisp, how beautiful it is. And then I want to turn it over. And I want you to look at it now. And do you see all those knots or stray pieces of thread? See how it's not quite as focused as it was before? Well, our lives are very similar to that. God is working in you and me every day if we'll bother to stop, rest, listen, and then apply the things he tells us. The pattern, from our perspective, can be rather rough. There can be knots in the patterns of the thread. I can remember my wife Kathy and her mother oftentimes untying little knots in those threads of embroidery thread. Well, that's what God's doing with us. He's untying those little knots. And when he is finished, you and I will be complete. The picture that God intended for us through his Son, Jesus Christ. I hope this has been a blessing to you. I know it's been one for me, and I will attempt to apply those blessings throughout my life. Thank you.